Hello, hello, everybody. This is Mighty Vicious, and you are back again on a Friday that hopefully will not be cursed for episode 62 of the Made in Dreams podcast. Uh, Let me start out with what you just watched. One was Phoenix by Lady Snipe Shot, Ghost Fruit, and ID User Profile, and fantastic. It blows me away every time I watch it. The second one was done by Marcos Del Rio, of Spicy Waffles. If you haven't seen any of his work in Dreams, as well as Willow the Bob for animation and character design by Hazed Gamer 420. And yeah, it's amazing.
Amazing work.
Yeah, Spicy Waffles did really good work directing and setting that short up. And yeah, if you haven't seen it in Dreams, go and thumbs it up. Both things that we just showed. And let's go ahead and get going. As I said, I'm Mighty Vicious here, as always, with my co host, Jamie James, the Stone the Builders Refused. And we are joined today. But you know what? I noticed that you used to have TG Lightworks, but then it just became Lightworks.
Mm.
And, and I'm wondering what was up with that first before I keep going.
I mean, my name's Toby, but I mean, Lightworks will do. That's you can just go by either of those names. I don't know why I got rid of that. I think maybe I was just kind of, I guess it's part of the story with the whole dreams thing. The Twitter account just really started as like a place to consume stuff as opposed to really like put that much content out.
Yeah.
And so as it grew, as the community grew, and as I started to do more, it sort of evolved a bit. And I was like, well, maybe I should actually sort of think about my username as opposed to just like plastering crap all over the place, you know? So yeah, I guess it's just been on a bit of a journey up until this point with like me caring a little bit more and like, you know, as opposed to just this like spam account or whatever, you know?
Yeah, evolving with the art. So awesome. Well,
Yeah.
guys, I want to jump right into it because we have a lot to get through today. But if you're not familiar with Lightworks or Toby, then I would advise you to look up Lightworks on YouTube. See the awesome detailing and texturing, and even works with music a little bit in there. As far as Dreams goes, I haven't seen a lot of the music work, but tell us your history. Tell us about yourself. How did you come to the
Yeah.
land of Dreamage?
Sure, yeah. I mean, so my background really is in music. Music producer, I've put music out, and that's sort of electronic music, kind of jazz inspired. More recently, working with sort of orchestral stuff, which has been really, really fun. Um, and so I've always been excited about audio tech and kind of music tech, and I've worked in that for a good few years. And actually it was my final uni project was using Little Big Planet 1 as
Mm.
a musical graphic score, which I think is still lurking on YouTube somewhere. um, and so you know, I just was really blown away by the kind of creation tools in Little Big Planet, and was a big fan and kind of went through that journey as they were developing it in the series. And I made some live visuals as well for some shows that I was doing when I was DJing using Little Big Planet, and then a music video using Little Big Planet 2. And then I kind of just kind of had a bit of an ear to the ground on the dream stuff as it started to come up. And I looked about it, got really excited about it. I was just like, this looks insane. But part of my job was to be in different music tech sort of festivals, really. And I think it was Sonar 2018 or maybe 2017. I think it was 2018. I was looking at all the stuff that I kind of had to do for work, which I'm interested in. But I saw the Media Molecule were there, and I was like, okay, this is like moved from a kind of professional excitement to like a personal
Mm.
level of excitement, because I saw that they were doing a showcase on the new audio engine, and so I was like, oh shit, I need to go definitely to that, like mark it out, just make sure that I get to this workshop, sign up for it, and just be there, and kind of sat through this thing, and I was just absolutely blown away by this 3D door, which you could like hook up to anything. A door is like a kind of music workstation, like a And so, you know, for a kind of musician that is used to kind of flat stuff on a screen, to see it in a game world, but kind of in real time and responding to stuff in the engine, I was just like, what is this? This is just bananas for just the music world alone, not games. And they were there to talk about the music alone. They weren't talking about the game tools or the physics tools. They just talk, and it was 2 hours, and everyone was just like, this is crazy. what even is this? And because obviously they hinted at things that could be done outside of the music world, you know, to kind of demonstrate the audio engine. Obviously they had to kind of showcase what it could do in conjunction with other parts of the tool, and so it hinted at that stuff, and we were just like, this is just bizarre. Like, what have you done?
That's Meaty Molecule.
Yeah, and so I kind of met a couple of the guys there and just said, look, I'm a music person, really love what you do. Here's some music videos that I made. And they were really enthusiastic about it, actually. They said, oh yeah, like keep in touch and send us more of your work and stuff. So we did stay in touch. And then I tried to, so I think they invited me to the early access, because I was sort of chatting with them a little bit. And we were also talking about ways in which we could work together, in the role that I'm in now, which is working for an audio company called Spitfire Audio, who make orchestral tools, and we record the orchestra and turn it into software and all that. And so I was really hoping to get some of our orchestral sounds into Dreams. And so I was talking to those guys a little bit. Anyway, so we sparked off some conversations, and it was just a really lovely showcase what they put together, and it was really great to kind of meet them and just stay in touch, basically. And so that was my kind of intro to Dreams, really.
Well, coming from music, you seem to have a really good handle on sculpting. So,
Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, I don't. It's really weird because I feel like I'm much more adept at the music making and tools, I think, personally, but I haven't been, you know, it's a huge tool, right? And there's so much to get good at and to master, and even, you know, one tiny area of it can take seemingly like hundreds of hours to get really amazing results from, and you can keep learning from it. So, and you know, I kind of know music a bit, so I understand the kind of the concept of the tools that are in there, and I do really enjoy using them, and I want to do it more. You know, it's almost like I haven't kind of got there yet. I haven't sort of explored the full potential of the music engine yet, to be honest. But the thing that was really accessible for me, and the thing that I had no experience with the tool, was sculpting. So I just found it really inspiring and accessible to make stuff, you know, 3D stuff, which I'd sort of maybe had a bit of an interest in, but never really thought I would be any good at. And so I think, you know, testament to how accessible and like easy the tools are. Do you know what I mean?
no, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Yeah, it's amazing how accessible it is. But like you said, it was, you know, it's hundreds of hours to like pick up one and then continue to learn on it and kind of grow into other things. And, you know, it's kind of like, I'll tell you, as we always say, it's way beyond the accessibility of like Blender or one of these other ones that you open and immediately lose all hope of being able to create. So,
I kind of don't want to look at the hours spent sometimes. Do you ever feel like that on a game where you've just been playing way too much? You're like, I don't want to see that. So I kind of like the level thing, because it's like, oh, that's a nice little animation of a number, and it doesn't really have any bearing on exactly how many hours I've poured into doing this like quirky, weird project or whatever, you know.
Well, I mean, you know what? I'm going to take this moment where we have a break. I'm going to go into the next slide where we can show everyone your work while we continue speaking. And let me see here. So, you know, like I said, you seem to have a handle on sculpting. So like it seems you've tried to focus mostly on like detailing and texturing work. Is there a reason for that, or is it just that's what you gravitated to when you started?
I think there is. I do have an interest in like how the work that I'm most inspired by probably is stuff that looks like it almost sort of tricks your eye because the color and the light and the detail are so bang on. It might be a photo or a video. Normally it's a photo, like just a screenshot. And people, in fact, like The Breakfast, obviously, John Beach, and then there was they teased that controller. Do you remember? It was just like a PS4 controller. No,
Yeah.
like this is made in dreams before it came out, or maybe it was early access or something. And I was just like, "What do you mean that was made in dreams? I just don't understand. Like how, like, and The Breakfast still. I'm just like, I go
Yeah,
back to
it's
like,
insane.
what?
It's absolutely crazy.
It's just, and so that is so inspiring, and I just feel like coming close to stuff that looks real is really exciting for me personally. I think because I don't know why. I just like because it's a PS4 game, and imagine like the potential for it. You know, I
Yeah.
mean that's how I feel about it. So, and also I think it sets you a bit of a brief. So like, you know, the first thing I built was my flat. My TV was in front of me, and I was like, right, how do I? Instead, it was like the easiest reference ever. It was just like everything's around me. I can see the light. I don't need to keep looking at another screen. I'm just going to try and do these shapes around me, and kind of get it as close as possible. And I look back on it now, it's absolutely horrible. But it's just like reference photos or things around you are like really good briefs if you don't know what to do, or if you're a bit like, oh, you know, this engine's so huge I could do anything. You know, so
Yeah.
I think that's quite helpful.
Yep.
Um,
So I'm sorry, I get caught up looking at this because I'm looking at the one where, yeah,
There's so much detail.
yeah,
oh yeah, is this
it's
the canyon?
yeah,
It's
and it's just I've seen so many people attempt it, but I've also tried to attempt it myself, and there's just like I would say I'm just now getting the idea, like my wrapping my mind around how to detail in this sense, but it's so it looks so great, and it like it's like some
it's just
people.
so simplistic though. Like your method is so simple. That's what gets me with it. It's like you've got all this complexity to it, but in its natural state, it's such a simple shape that you've
Yeah,
made. But it gives you such a great effect.
yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at this now as well. Something that I kind of find curious is that, you know, when you look at a photo or kind of scene in real life, like that stuff is just like an amalgamation of pixels, right? It's just pixels
Yeah.
on a screen. So it's like, well, why shouldn't this engine be able to make the same pixels? Like why, like what is it about this image that's kind of telling my brain that this is real that I'm looking at? And actually it's not necessarily that complicated. It's just getting the right balance of like color. For me, what I found with noodling around in dreams is like color is way more telling about whether something is real or not than you might think. I think personally. And so seeing like, I remember seeing some of the early bad Robo stuff, just obviously king. I mean, and a lot of what makes it, his stuff is obviously complex too, and he's a very talented sculptor. But I think a huge part of what makes his work really effective is just the color. And so, and I don't always think it does necessarily need to be that complex to kind of get to that level of detail that makes it look good, you know.
Interesting.
You say these things. No, you say these things.
Yeah.
No, it's. I mean, it always comes down to. It seems that it's more. It's more technique than difficulty. I don't want to say trick, because it's not a trick, but it's like it's more like you know the technique and can implement it, or you don't, and you're on the outside wondering how the heck someone did it. And that's what drew me to your YouTube videos, because I was like, I feel like, with practice, this is what I've been looking for. Like this is like how to explain the process of texturing in a way that my monkey brain can get, but see
Oh,
the
that's really sweet
results.
of you to say. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, I think like I kind of want to the intention for this YouTube stuff that I was doing was to showcase a process of me learning and like not knowing how to do things by the book and just kind of exploring and trying stuff out and experimenting and kind of having happy accidents with it. I wanted to record that and have a process that somebody could see. And I think actually some of these videos I think are sort of too polished in a way, and I kind of want to sometimes just get it even more in its like raw state so people can see the mistakes and the kind of journey that you go through to get somewhere, which is something I've been sort of thinking about, and I kind of want to do more of that. But also, I think just I want it to be accessible in the way that Dreams is. Like, I would love for somebody to watch these videos that maybe doesn't have dreams, but is still kind of interested in a process, or just watching someone do something and think about something and put it together. Because I think that might be a big part of. I mean, I know it's a big part of just the internet in general. Like, I catch my friends watching stuff. I'm like, do you care about people cleaning plants particularly? And they're like, no, but I just like watching.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like about this sort of slightly, almost like meditative state that gets into the kind of tone of the videos. It's almost like Bob Ross vibes. I know a lot of people have kind of been referencing him and talking about him in a dreams context, which I think is really cool. And I've been thinking about the way he does things, and his process is actually less like this. It's obviously just from start to finish. So you see every single part of the journey, which I really like that idea. It just puts the pressure on when you're making stuff. So you're like, okay, got to look at Bob Ross in one. You know.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's interesting you go into that, because I was going to ask, like, you found success like spreading your work around on YouTube and Twitter. A lot of people have done so, including Reddit. Like, how's the reception been to you putting up dreams things, like dreams based or related material on YouTube? Like, have you gotten any of the back and forth with like Blender users, or any of that?
Not yet. I would love to kind of have those conversations. In fact, one of the scenes that I worked on was it was a complete ripoff of a Blender guru. He's got this channel that's really inspiring Blender process. And he just had this scene that was so wonderful. There was something about the light and the materials. I was like, do you know what? You could definitely do that in Dreams. So I made it, and I kind of made it a bit more interactive with some music stuff going on. But I would
The
really,
subway.
yeah, the subway, yeah,
Yes, I've seen this. Yeah.
yeah, and it was almost like it was to showcase Dreams more than anything. It was like, yeah, we can make some 3D stuff, but look at what else you can do with music. Like, just as an example, really basic example, and that was a lot of fun. And I want to be inspired by other like 3D artists, and then kind of flip them in a Dreams context, and just almost to show the artists what this amazing tool can do as well, because I kind of want them to know about it. I want everyone to know about it. I want like every creative person to kind of be across it, because it is just like the most nuts thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. Do you did you ever use any of the like Blender or anything like that? Like,
I think I started to I tried Blender when I was a kid, and I think maybe a couple of school friends had got into it in a bigger way. But it was too complex. I was too young. I couldn't really figure. I just didn't have the patience or the time. I think that was the main problem. Just too stupid, probably. I wasn't like, I just wasn't prepared. I think to kind of deep dive into some of what was required, and you need a lot of patience for that. And I think you get like the kind of instant hit of reward in dreams is quite high compared to some of the other stuff, right? Like quite quickly you're like, oh right, so this can just be physics based. All of a sudden you can just drop it on the floor, and that might take a while in other software, because you've got to kind of noodle around with all kinds of parameters and yeah. So I mean, and music is the same. Like the music engines, the music software. I mean, I use Logic. And moving back to Logic, having messed around in dreams is just so. It's like, oh.
I've had the exact same issue because I used to make music quite a while ago, and Logic was my DAW of choice. And since using Dreams, I haven't gone back. I just can't anymore. It's just
there's a lot of there's a long way to go still. I think in Dreams, there's a lot of things that you can.
Yeah.
It does some things really well, and there's a lot of things that it flat out just can't.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, you have way more control in Logic than you do in Dreams audio system, but the creative freedom that you have with Dreams' music system is what just keeps me going with it, because it's more fun to make music. Like,
definitely.
I came to the point where it was like a chore to like do stuff in Logic. It was like, oh, I got to sit now and do this for an hour and equalize this, and it just became work. Whereas with Dreams, it's just like, I'm just going to mess with all the settings to make a weird sound come out of it and just go with it. Like it just becomes so much more fun to play around with.
Did you discover there was a MIDI patch that
MIDI
I think
MIDI to OSC.
Yeah, exactly. That was crazy.
Fun.
That's so fun.
And like, since they've updated it now so you can make your own instruments, like it's just endless fun, just messing around with all sorts.
I need to get more into it. I know the potential is just huge, but I will get there.
So let me ask you, is there something that you need Dreams to do? Is there a function, an asset, something in music perhaps? Is there something where it's just like, if I get the chance, like I'm gonna get them to do this? What would be that thing for you in Dreams, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it strikes me that some of the thermo stuff can fill up pretty quick, no matter how good you are at optimizing. And I understand that's like just what we've got to live with this, given that there's a whole other, it's not just a kind of creation tool, it's like a game and a creation tool. So obviously it's going to be limited to what you can do in terms of its capacity. People are really getting smart with how they optimize their assets. However, I'm seeing some stuff that's really impressive where it's just like, wow, I didn't know that this would be possible. Having said that, I think just to reassure new users and for me too, having a bit more headroom there where you're just like, actually, I'm not going to freak out because I've got a lot of this stuff left to go, and I'm not cluttering my scene up or my game up really quickly with little weird held items. So that's something. But I mean, really, I remember when I first started messing around with it, and the interface and the fluidity and the detail, and just the way the whole thing came together, it felt like a next gen game to me when I first started using it. I don't know if anyone else felt that, but
completely agree.
Yeah,
it was like, this is way more than like an extension of Little Big Planet. It just felt like the whole thing was so smooth, and even like the early access at that point, it was still like, where are the bugs? Like, how have you made this so tight already? I know that like people worked on feedback and sending all stuff back. But for the most part, for a release thing at that point, I was really astonished. So the fact that it's a PS4 game still kind of blows my mind. And
Yeah, just the PS4, just that alone,
Oh.
like it works on a PlayStation 4. Like,
yeah,
if you showed this to someone, you'd say, "Oh yeah, that's got to be like a PS5 thing," like because of
Yeah.
what it can do and how much it can handle. Like that's got to be next gen, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's just crazy that it runs.
So I think like the PS5 thing, which I'm hoping will happen, that looking forward to that.
Yeah. I mean, that literally will fix a lot of people's like issues as far as wanting more thermo and stuff like that. Like if there is a PS5 version that does end up coming, it'll literally like just looking at how much better things can run on PS5 now. And then you think about that and how it'll grow into the rest of the game. Yeah, or as some people like to joke, that'll be Dreams Plus.
Dreams Plus.
The never-ending talk of Dreams Plus.
What is Dreams like? When started that? Is that real?
I think it started with the Mercedes stuff, didn't it? Like, wasn't it the Mercedes stuff that started Dreams Plus?
I thought it was Mega Penguin. I thought when they were hinting at Mega Penguin, but they weren't saying what it was.
Yeah. It started with Dreams Plus.
Yeah. And people were like, Dreams Plus. And so it still comes up every now and again as like a joke within the community.
Yeah.
But I'm here to say I hope it's not a joke. I hope that they take the name. I hope they take the name.
I think they would.
PS5.
They really are
PS5 Bubble Bath Engine V2 is going to be, or whatever V they're on, it's going to be Dreams Plus now.
Yeah, I mean, they're the type of people that would really just do that because of the people. Like, they're just such people. So I think they'd definitely just do that.
I reckon they would.
I mean, they let the community name the engine, so they probably would just go with Dreams Plus.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's Bubble Bath Engine is what it's called.
There we go. There was a leak, quote unquote leak, that came out that had upcoming PlayStation 5 games, and Dreams Plus was one. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I remember now. Yeah.
I remember that was from a leaker. There was people are like, "Is it real?" And so yeah. The Dreams Plus would be like when they drop all the big stuff that everybody's been clamoring for. It's like, give us multiplayer, give us the update. I think it's still coming. Thermo. I think it is too. I just think it's not called Dreams Plus.
I would love it if it was called Dreams Plus, but to be honest, it doesn't make a difference what it's called as long as we get it. And like,
just give it to me.
I think they're prepping for something that's going to melt our faces with PS5.
Yeah, probably. I bet. I think you're totally right because like the PS4 version did it, so why wouldn't the next one do it?
It's like people. Sorry, go on.
Well, no. The only thing I was going to sort of counter what I'm saying with is like, well, when have I actually had a scene that is like maxing out, and I really need to I've optimized everything. There's nothing more I can do, and I really want to make this game or this scene or this music video or whatever. And I'm not quite at 100, but I'm nearly there. Like, how often has that actually happened? Like, when have I actually had an idea where I'm like, I really need them to implement this? And to be honest, like once maybe, honestly. And I think that's partly down to setting out a kind of realistic goal that I know is not necessarily going to kind of blow the thermo budget, but also I think it's also down to just the fact that like we want more than we need. Also, like we just want to see the kind of tech be able to handle stuff, even though I don't even care what I'm going to use it for. I'm never going to go near it. But like, just tell me that I've got another 70%, please. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we're going to see I think Media Molecule are definitely doing the PS5 thing. And one of the things that I think they're definitely going to do is be working on a ton of stuff that we would have never asked for, but will always want. They're definitely going to address the thermo issues and all of that stuff that people have been carrying on about since Dreams come out. But they're just going to be like, hey, here's Dreams PS5 and here's 5 new things that you never thought would exist, but we've made them anyway because we're just creative weirdos that love to just experiment with everything.
Exactly. I think, and there's just going to be you're so right with that. And Thermo doesn't exist anymore, for
Yeah.
example.
Like, do
cool.
you ever?
There is no
That's what I was
thermo.
about to ask. Do you ever feel like it's possible that you actually don't know what you want? Like, I'm
Yeah,
not trying to be
exactly.
philosophical with it, but I mean, we always have things where it's like, oh, I didn't even know I wanted that, but they gave it to me. But I'm talking about on like another level. If it's like we want things, but we don't really understand
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
I'm going to change my answer to what you just said because I totally agree with that.
You see, that's why you need Media Molecule, because they know these things.
I think that's why we need Media Molecule and the community. Because I think
Exactly.
if we had like a small
Yeah.
part of like if you take a few people out of the beta, like, and they never get their
Yeah.
hands on dreams, I think you have huge swaths of people who wouldn't have shot for a specific thing. Like they wouldn't know that it would be. So it's like, you know, maybe there is a, I don't know. It's just something that popped into my head where it's just like you know, you think about that and it's like there are things that even probably updates they've already done where they're sitting there
Yeah.
waiting for someone to like really grasp what they gave us.
Well,
You
yeah.
know.
I mean, the whole like putting the Trello stuff out was like a nod towards being a conversation between the studio and the community, right? It was like, look, here's what we're doing. We're doing stuff that you want and that you're asking for, and you know, this quite unusual to find that, you know, because that's normally the stuff that you can't see that, you know. Shh.
Yeah, and that's what I love about them so much is they are just an open book. Like
Yeah.
there's no secrets other than the things that obviously Sony makes them keep secret, but they are just so open about everything. Like multiplayer, for instance. Like, you know, they could have just kept that hushed down and just a big reveal for
Yeah.
it when it comes out. They don't have pressure from the community then because they don't know that it's coming, but you know, they'd let them know anyway. Like multiplayer is going to be a thing. It's just going to take time to develop. Like, and I just love
Mhm.
that transparency with them. You know, with
Mhm.
other companies, you just don't get that personal relationship that you do with MM.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
So with that, I mean, did we decide whether or not we're gonna talk about the thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, so I'll be joining them. I mean, I put it out on Twitter. It's really exciting. Yeah, they're gonna be I'm gonna be a dream specialist for them. So yeah, that's happening in January. And so I have not started yet.
Fantastic.
And I'm yeah, absolutely buzzed to do that. Like I'm really I don't know what I'm gonna be doing yet. Exactly. I know the kind. I know what the role is, and I don't know like the projects or any kind of specifics or whatever. But yeah, it was mad because it just this was just this was a lockdown thing for me, honestly, as I'm sure
Yeah.
it was for a lot of people. It was a kind of sanctuary, to be honest. Like learning something with space and time and being at home, and I mean, it was the like I was saying earlier, my background is in music and events and stuff like this. And I sort of helped out with a couple of things at, I mean, very, very light touches, but just getting involved with different venues. One was the Royal Albert Hall. And I remember looking at photos like mid pandemic of being in that space and there just being like so many people there. I don't know if you look back on any photos just to kind of see how weird like big groups of people look.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it got me thinking like, yeah, the Royal Albert Hall is something that I think you could probably just about do in Dreams. Like it's got a lot going on, but a lot of it's sort of copy paste. And so yeah, that came from an idea that was just we're all locked down. I miss music. I miss venues. I want to kind of just be in that space again, even if it is virtual, as I kind of create stuff and just imagine. And also, just there's something about the scale of it with the lighting, and it kind of just got me thinking about how you could hook it up to a music timeline and kind of get to work on that. So that was probably my first. I think it's probably the only project I've actually released on Dreams, and it was really fun, man. Like it was really, and it kind of set my mind on then what was sort of possible and to be honest, it was such a passion project, and the community was so amazingly supportive. I was like, I want to make this into a 3D thing, 360 thing. No idea about how to do that, so I got in touch with a load of people and ended up kind of video stitching like different shots together. I made like a 360 rig in Dreams and went on this mad like video journey. I've got nothing to do with video or like 3D. So, but everybody I spoke to about trying to pull this project off was so supportive. They're like, oh, you need to speak to like Mystica VR. They do the like they're like the wizards at the stitching. Oh yeah, okay, well thanks for getting in touch with us. And then they put me onto this other guy, and all of these people were able to help out. And they ended up making me a preset for Mystica for the Dreams camera, because the camera's virtual, and the software that they have built is to run with hardware, with real lenses, with real focal lengths and fields of view and all the rest of it. So I kind of had to give them the virtual mock-up of what I could interpret as the Dreams camera, and gave them a load of reference photos. And then this guy made the preset for me and sent it through. And then, so I've just got this like this thing now to build. I mean, it's a really laborious process, to be honest. Video stitching is quite long.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun, and I was just staggered about how like everybody wanted me to do it. I'd spoken to so many people, and they were so helpful. And so that was people in the MM community, but also just generally in the kind of video and 3D world as well. I was really like blown away by how people just really wanted to help me do this thing. Yeah. And so the first time I bought this like crappy headset and put it on in YouTube, and like, because I don't have PSVR. So that was like my first VR experience of this thing that I had made. And it was really like, it kind of just got me thinking about all sorts of mad stuff for the future.
So we had a question from Afroman for Peace in chat, who asked, what do you think? Will Dreams be published on PC one day?
I mean, I see a lot of people just being like, PC, please come on, let's go. And I understand that, because there's a huge developer community there, obviously. I feel strongly that the UI has been designed for this happening. And I'm not too up on like the PC world, but I don't know if there's like equivalents. I'm sure there are, but it feels like to reinvent it for like mouse and keyboard would be crazy, right? Like that's just like
I don't know.
I do feel ways about like what you do. Like you can just see that it was designed around a console, and like I totally get where you're coming from. With like you need this accelerometer and everything, and the whole UI is designed around using a controller, and the way that you sculpt and everything has been methodically chosen with the type of buttons you press and everything. But we've talked about this for years on this show. So my opinion has evolved over the years, and like when we first started this show, I was like, no, PC will kill it. This is meant for console. That's what makes it what it is and why it's special, because it's not like the other engines, because it's on a console. But over time, I have been thinking about it, and it could easily work on a PC, because you could just plug a DualShock 4 into the PC. Like, simple as that. There's your problem solved. Like, you could still have it on PC, but still use the PlayStation way of creating with it. That makes it unique.
Maybe I don't know the details. There might be some developers, some of the devs that are hearing you say that and just be like, no, that's not true. I don't know. I don't know about how it's made. I mean, if there was a way of just porting it that easily, maybe. It seems like there's an overwhelming voice that is saying like, guys, let's go. We want this. We really want you to do this. And I get it. But also, I think like those people should also remember that this was designed for people that are not developers already. Like, it's designed for people to experience creation without having any of that knowledge, without having the stuff that you already know. It's not for you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is for the people that don't This is the people that need an intro into like what a light is and what a sculpt is and what
Yeah.
a like
See,
gyro is. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
see,
Mm.
I've been sitting quietly. I've been listening to
You've been
this.
itching in the corner.
Yeah, I've been over here listening to this. Look,
come
I'm
on, let's go.
like, I feel like for one, like my response, which I actually typed to him in chat, was that people don't like my answer, but I don't think it's a question. Really, it's just a win, and win will be when it's advanced enough on a certain industry workings to not be disregarded. And I kind of came up with that because of speaking with someone else who I got into Dreams, who is into using Unity and basically is proficient in everything else, and is now learning Dreams. But it's I don't think it is just for us. Like I think out of everything that was said, the only thing that really where I was like, the it's not for you thing was probably the only thing that made me go, ah. First of all, it's Papa Sony. Papa Sony gonna want that money. Papa Sony gonna ask for that money. But other than that, it's just like even if it is just for that group, there's a vast group of people on PC who still fit that criteria. And and I just feel like it's the hunger. It's because people see it. And I mean, we've had this conversation before on the podcast, and people are like, well, then go buy a PlayStation. Good luck right now. But,
yeah, true.
But I
think
yeah.
I hear what you're saying, and I think you're right. I think I'd like to kind of correct what I said. It's not just for those people, but I think it was designed with those people in mind, in their kind of mind's eye at the top of the conversations. I don't know about this, but I'd imagine like accessibility. Let's make sure that this is like, and to be fair, I think they've struck an amazing balance, and I wonder whether, because I bet there's a lot of people out there that are still like, this is way over my head. I don't understand what I'm looking at. This is like too complex for me. I just want to play a game. And I think it's like, I reckon there are a load of those people that don't know how capable they are. It's just about being led in the right way with the right hand holding. And so I think that those people have been on their minds in a big way when designing this, because I was one of them, and I really appreciated all the tutorials and all of the UI, and even still, it was like a big learning curve for me because I had no experience in any of this stuff at all. So I feel like, yes, I think it could obviously be a huge success on PC. But from what I gather from the design and the way it was kind of put together, I still think that, I don't know. I feel like maybe it won't happen. I don't know. Come on. Mhm.
I'm muted. Sorry. The idea that you were saying it was made for console and like that port. Now, as you said, I don't presume to know like how difficult that is. But when like PlayStation makes these acquisitions where they're picking up all these support companies, including uh, devs that specialize in porting to PC,
Mm.
like it gives me a little more hope that it'll happen. But I just think it comes down to it comes down to what people are comfortable with, and do you want to leave that market untapped if there's obviously a calling for it. Like just the idea of having as I always go into, and people people make me people laugh at me because I always talk about how the Power Glove was like the greatest thing way before its time, and especially with videos I've seen recently where it's like the industry seems to believe that too, even though most gamers don't, because all they can think of is the Power Glove, not what it could be. Like, but
Yeah.
but it always comes down to like what you're used to using for me. So even if you throw out the Power Glove, like I always tell people, the idea of having a stylus to me is like if everything else, if they were like, we can only put one more thing into Dreams, for me it would be a stylus. If it would be like, can I hook up a Wacom tablet and use that to detail, like use that on a flat surface with the flex, like where I could get more of a deliberate line instead of a painterly line. And I don't think, being that, even though consoles are computers anyway, they like, hell, since I think the PlayStation 3, we've literally just been buying like super specialized PCs.
Yeah.
but
I mean,
like, yeah.
I'd probably say I hear what you're saying. I do, and I just think, well, I think two things. I think first of all, the fact that there are so many kind of PC devs who have got this calling for Dreams is testament just to the detail and the like astonishing shit that you can create in Dreams, like as an engine. The fact that it's even getting that attention is like showing you that it's so much more than like a PS4 game. It's like, no, this is, and hats off to them for having delivered a product that's even getting that attention, that kind of attention, let alone on that scale. So that's just an achievement, first of all. And the second thing I would say is that I don't know anything about like the industry, like acquisition Dreams or what they want to be doing or whatever. But as far as I can tell, it's like, well, isn't it just like, well, we've got these plans for VR stuff. We know that Dreams is more than capable of doing that with the PS5 update. If that ever happens, maybe that's going to take it on a mad journey. We've got the PlayStation Store. Like, it might be that we've got an idea how to just wrap all of this shit up with a bow on top and just be like, that is it. This is what we've been trying to do. And, that makes it really attractive for PC users to forget about what they're doing and go and buy a PlayStation and go and buy all the PS stuff. So, like, I mean, from a business perspective, if they're kind of attracting that market and being like, well, we don't need them to keep their PCs because we can get them to come over here, then obviously that's like quite an attractive prospect for a company, right? It's like,
I mean, I agree, but it's kind of like the conversation we had a few weeks ago regarding like Chromebooks and actual like laptops, where where it's where it's like, so where it's Chromebooks and laptops, where it's like, we could get people. Did you need to go?
Sorry, no, I think I'm okay. Okay. My phone's kind of on 10% though, and it's not plugged in. Sorry about that. Hopefully it will survive.
Well, if you need to run and get a cord, feel free.
Maybe I'll have to second, yeah.
But like when you say that, I immediately think of, but it's like a Chromebook to an actual like laptop, where it's like, where it's like, you have the prospect of people coming over, but then if people already have a PC, then that's kind of, we had this argument too on here, where it's just like, it's like some people's job and like feeds into what their hobby is. And therefore, somebody was like, well, just go get a PlayStation. Now let's ignore the obvious reasons why you can't right now. Yeah. But even in the general world, before all of this happened, that's not as easy of a decision for people. It's like, I already do all of this on this thing. And therefore I understand if someone's like, well, then I guess you ain't gonna be playing Dreams. But at the same time, it's like, you can't fault them for wanting it. And I've just seen so many thousands of comments from people being like, when is this coming to PC? I want to use it really bad, because they already put $3,000 into their PC. They don't,
I remember, you're totally right. And I'm just thinking back to Apple, and so their thing was like, you need to, if you want to have iTunes, you want to have an iPod, you need a Mac for a while. Do you remember? Like, you needed a Mac for an iPhone for a bit. you needed to plug it in and activate it with a Mac, and it was like that ecosystem was all wrapped up. And then obviously they were like, okay, but these guys that don't have a Mac have been like screaming at us for like years so they can have an iPhone. Should we just do that? And then obviously they did. And now it's like, yeah, the biggest phone. And so I think it could happen. I don't know. It's a really interesting conversation. And
I mean,
I feel like
theoretically speaking, it's totally possible for it to become on PC because the thing was made on a PC. It wasn't made on a PlayStation. You know, they used some form of a PC to make Dreams in the first place. So, you know, they patched the program each week with a PC. They clearly have a version running in the office on their system. So it's obviously possible to do. It's just a matter of whether or not they will.
And whether they will, and also the idea that I don't like, even as a person who I'm like, I would love for it to be on PC. I would probably buy it again on PC. If people have seen my Twitter post from a few days ago, how many times I've literally bought this game, like forcing it upon people and convincing people and doing all this stuff. Like, but I would like it just for the idea that it's like it would come with stylus support. Like it would have to, because it's computer PC. But
can I just get a cord? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. You know, but it's just, even having said all that, I don't think it's coming. Even I wouldn't want it to come too soon. It's like, I see the 10-year plan being a 10-year plan with PlayStation. And then,
and that's at the end of the finish line.
Yeah, that's the finish line. It's like, okay, other people get to do it. The only thing that could possibly change that in my mind, and this is from someone knowing nothing and not being a part of MM at all, so don't hold anything. This is just all open discussion for all the new people here. Like, you know, that makes sense to me. It's just like, if they didn't bring it out on PC until their 10-year plan was over, that's fine. It's not something that I think they should be like, we're gonna do it tomorrow. Like, I mean, if they did it, I wouldn't be mad, because I mean, if you got things like Roblox out there, then you might as well, you know, throw Dreams into the mix. No problem. So,
but I totally get where you're coming from, and I think they're definitely going to want to capitalize on the whole exclusivity of it first, especially like with PlayStation 5, you know, growing every day in sales somehow. People are magically buying them from wherever they're getting them from, but still, you know, once all this pandemic ends and the shortages of silicon changes and everything's back up and people can start buying all these products from them, I think they'll inevitably release, you know, the PS5 version that will enhance sales and get people wanting to move on to the platform. And then from there, you know, they're just going to keep updating it and trying to make the best version of Dreams possible, especially when it's on the new hardware. And then once they get to a point where like they have pretty much maxed out what they can do on PS5, like that's it. There's no more features we can add. We are literally pushing the PS5 to its absolute limit. That's when they'll go, okay, well, let's move to the PC, because that's where limits can be broken. Because, you know, it's completely hardware dependent with PS5. You know, you can only go to what the limits of the product can give you, whereas with PC, it's, you know, there's so much upgradability. So, you know, that's where they can really take it to new ground.
Yeah, I wouldn't want the I don't think they would ever leave the console crew behind. I wouldn't want, you know, the PC gang and the versions to kind of take off into these new territories. I guess that's the other big like thinking point, isn't it? It's like, how much do you dedicate time to both? I mean, it's a huge new, I mean, I know it's a port, but then it's also a team that's got to look after all of that stuff. And
I mean, just think about the support that you'd need to add for PC as well. Like, you know, you've got mouse and keyboard for one. Just that alone just seems like such a big challenge compared to how Dreams actually works right now.
They have other companies to do it for them now. I'm just
True.
pointing out that's why
I know, like,
some of
but
these support studios are being bought. It's so that they can separate this work that honestly,
yeah, but you see, I would disagree with you on that when it comes to Dreams specifically, because the way that Dreams has been designed is so uniquely done to how Media Molecule works. I think it would take Media Molecule to create an intuitive way to make mouse and keyboard work and look right in Dreams. I don't think it.
maybe I'm just, it could be that I'm a small brain, but I just don't get why I don't know how it would work, but I don't get why the idea of mouse and keyboard seems so difficult. Like,
I don't know.
just because we've seen other things that do move in this way. Like, we have other programs that already move in this way.
I don't know. It just
No,
Dreams just feels different.
the accelerometer is the
It's the key. It's the complete key of it all.
The idea of being able to move a controller around in 3D space and for that to kind of emulate a shape that you then see on your screen.
You're not going to get that fluidity with mouse and keyboard as you do with accelerometer.
As a person who doesn't and has never used that, I always use the base way. Like, I don't use moving the mouse to create it all. Doesn't make a difference.
What in Dreams you have the setting which is just like using the D-pad to like move around?
Well, using the sticks basically, and that's it. And I mean, there are reasons for why I want to learn the other way, just to see how it works. Like,
That's
if there's
really
any
interesting.
differences. But for me, as a person who's mostly, like, I've dabbled in it a little bit just to see about doing certain things. And I know if you want to do textures, you better not try to do it with the sticks. Like, it's just going to be slower. I mean, like, it's not like you can't do it. But, as a person who uses just the sticks, like, what people get from the accelerometer and all that is just what I would get from having the mouse. It's freer movement.
Do you know what I would say is I totally hear what you're saying, and I found it really unnatural when I first started sculpting like this, and I still find it kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also say that like that was probably the same for people when keyboard and mouse came out. You've just got that platform, and you're like trying to like get the mouse to go in the same place, and like when you look at like your grandparents with an iPad and then like doing it the wrong way, and trying to figure out, it's a new platform, and it's going to take a bit of learning. But ultimately, the reason why I think they've chosen this direction is because of the kind of speed and the organic nature of how you can quite quickly kind of paint or sculpt 3D space. That just I feel very much as if the kind of organic nature of creating things was their intention, and is less accurate, sure, but it's just more fun to do, and so that's why
I agree with you. I feel like it would lose something if you lost accelerometer. I don't know. It's just because I've always used it from. It's just like it's always been there from the beginning. To me, it's just like, well, that's how you use Dreams, because I've never used it any other way, and it's the standard way that the game approaches you to work in Dreams is with accelerometer. So thinking of using it any other way just feels wrong.
The way you had no using accelerometer. I'm sorry, the way you said it made it sound like accelerometer was an entity. Like it was just when you're talking about accelerometer, calm down.
That's it.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just old and I'm starting to lose it, but it made me think back to that movie, The Red Balloon, the old French short film, where's the little kid with the red balloon, and it's like a sentient balloon. It's crazy. Anyway, it's actual real.
Okay.
It's like it's live action. It's not animated. So
Wow.
that's an interesting movie if you ever want to watch it. Anyway.
I haven't tried the VR stuff yet, either on like PSVR, but I can also imagine there's something about having things in your hand, working in a physical space, that lends itself well to VR also.
You see, I tried it when it came out, but I got rid of PSVR very quickly because the actual visual quality of it is just so poor. It's just so blurry. Like it's really bad. Like, but I'm definitely getting PSVR 2 because
with PSVR 2.
Yeah, there's major improvements there,
Well,
but
like
just
that's the story with a lot of VR anyway, right? Unless you're spending like crazy money, like
yeah, I
it's
mean,
a
like,
while to get good enough to kind of not give you a headache and all the
I
rest
mean,
of it.
yeah, I mean, Oculus Quest 2 is pretty good for that now. Like the fidelity of that is decent enough, especially with it being like a all-in-one headset. But I mean, yeah, PSVR 2 is definitely going to change the game for Dreams for me because it just, I'm not much of a sculptor myself, but I did try sculpting in VR and I found it way more comfortable. Actually
Mhm.
being in that 3D space and seeing the depth of field and how far away objects were and
Mhm.
where you need to place them and everything, you just had a perfect view of that 3D space. So yeah, PSVR 2 is going to definitely be a game changer for Dreams for me.
So here's something that's not dreams related.
Okay.
Earlier, I just put a chimney pot on top of my house so I can have a
Okay.
fire, and I got a grill earlier and started a fire, and that was Hannah who came in earlier. She just sent me a text message saying the whole house is full of smoke, and
Oh no.
I think basically I don't think the house is on fire. I hope. But
Maybe you should go check that.
Yeah, yeah.
there's
Maybe
like smoke pouring into the house. I think that's why she came in. She just sent me a message, so I might have to
I think maybe yeah, maybe we should wrap this up so you like, you don't burn your house down.
That would be really ideal, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Well, that's
Let's wrap
a
this
new one.
up.
That's a new level of Friday curse right there.
Yeah, Jesus. Okay.
I mean, it doesn't
well,
smell like on fire. I can sort of smell stuff.
Let's not risk it, shall we?
Shall I let you
Yeah.
know later on how it's gone? Yeah.
yeah. So
I think that.
everybody, thank you for coming
Yes.
through at TG Live. Toby, thank you for coming through.
Sorry about
I'm trying to
Thank
wrap this up quick as hell. So
Your commitment is astonishing. I'm surprised you haven't left already. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Yeah, really lovely to chat, and to all you on the internet, lovely to hear from you and see you.
No
all.
worries. We'll probably catch up
Indeed.
with you in the new year.
Yeah,
Bye.
let's do that. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Later. So yeah. So that is
Wow.
that's some new stuff. So what we're gonna do, being that this is the last podcast we're going to have for the year. We both have a lot of stuff we need to get to at the end of this year, and I'm gonna tell you it's been a doozy. But what I am going to do is go ahead and send you guys over to Piece of Craft, who's been working on some great stuff, and we will catch you guys again after. Yeah.
After the holidays.
After the holidays and into the new year. So thank you for joining. I appreciate all of you. And we'll see you when, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Love you all.
And we'll see you all in 2022.
Peace.